October 1st board meeting for the Rutherford County School System. Our first manner of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes.
Dr. Sullivan.
So we have some guests from Kittrell, so Mr. Tidwell invited those. He's not able to be with us tonight, but I wanted to read and give a little information about them. The Kittrell Rising Ladies Society was founded in 2016 with a simple table manners discussion that was in conjunction with the start of the Amazing Shake at Kittrell. Over the past 8 years, KRLS has become a sisterhood with weekly meetings, an annual manners luncheon, and the Kittrell Elf Exchange. Additionally, the Kittrell League of Gentlemen was founded in 2016 when our young men were learning to properly tie a tie. This also stemmed from the beginning of the Amazing Shake competition at Kittrell Elementary School, and these fifth graders are learning how to become leaders. We have several students here with us from Kittrell, and I believe we also have Miss Jill and Mr. Robeson here as well. I see one of you for sure. If you want to come up and lead us in the pledge, we greatly appreciate it.
Good job.
Next up, before we have a moment of silence, I would ask you to continue to please put Mr. Caleb Tidwell, one of our fellow board members' son, in your prayers. His son Kingston is still ill. Also, if we could pray for the victims of Helen, all that have been ravaged all across the United States. Bow your heads, please. Thank you. First up is the approval of the agenda. Give you just a moment to look it over. Any comments, discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I've forgotten, she's already left, but I did want to recognize Miss Unisha Campbell, the principal at Kittrell Elementary School. She was here and is out there with our students right now, so apologize to her that I did not see her standing right there, but appreciate what she does.
Absolutely. If there are no comments or discussions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we move to the consent agenda. If you all will take a moment, take a look at that. Any discussion? Any comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Do we have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Now we will turn over to our public comment, and we have one speaker signed up tonight, Ms. Michelle Johnson.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to address a serious and important matter, specifically the pornographic books God's children have access to in the school libraries. I was privileged to attend the last meeting. At the conclusion of that meeting, it became very clear to me why I would need to speak here tonight. Many voices, laws, and positions were heard that night, but the one voice that was missing, the one that truly mattered, that should have been heard most loud and clear, was the voice of a child affected by this kind of insidious influence. I am that voice. I was that child, left unprotected, and I'm now a 52-year-old woman that grapples with spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical pain, along with lustful thoughts, shame, guilt, anger, deep sadness, regret. Need I go on? This devastating influence left me being sexualized at a very young age, as far back as I can remember. This pornography provoked sexual thinking. Sexual thinking begets susceptibility to being sexually exploited and molested by predators, which begets early promiscuity, an unhealthy view of love, and a devalued mindset as God's child, precipitating the road of multiple sexual partners, infliction with an STD, harmful plastic surgery because my body didn't align with insidious narrative, subsequently ending with damage to implants in my body, resulting in explantation and permanent nerve damage, engaging in infidelity, ending in an abortion that haunts me to this day and most likely contributes to 3 miscarriages my husband and I have endured. I was robbed of my innocence early on. Not every child has parents that will fiercely protect them from this evil. These parents are reckless and foolish. Each one of you sit here tonight because you choose to take on this position and were elected by the people. You all have willingly assumed the role of overseer and charged with shepherding God's children. James 4:17 says, "So whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin." All of you have either knowingly or ignorantly placed yourselves in a precarious position before God, and He's holding you to a higher standard of accountability. If you choose anything less than what is right in God's sight, you are robbing God's children of innocence and hindering their ability to come to Him. On that note, Jesus said, "Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for you to have a heavy millstone hung around your neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea." In the end, you will have no one to blame except for yourself when God judges your actions here. I'm imploring you to be more concerned about God's laws and His desires for your constituents in conjunction with upholding state and federal law. Some of you may be wolves in sheep's clothing, and my heart aches for your eternal existence. Madam Chair, respectfully, you had us bow our heads and pray for a family that lost a loved one at the last meeting, and you've had us pray tonight. And then you proceeded to vote all of these books to remain on the shelves. Jesus may say to some of you plainly on Judgment Day, I never knew you, and away from me, you evildoers. Because Jesus said, whoever disowns me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven. Eternity hangs in the balance, and your actions on this board will have eternal consequences. What the enemy meant for evil in my life, God has turned it for good in this moment and for His glory. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good.
You cannot go on because I can't let them go on. Next, we have number 7, Rutherford Strong.
So we have our list of National Merit semifinalists. So students, when I call your name, if you will come and just stand in front and face that way, when I call your name, and then we will go out and take a picture afterwards. So these students are our National Merit semifinalists, a huge, huge, huge honor for them, and we're beyond proud of them as they continue on to their journey past Rutherford County as they leave this year. But we have 16 seniors named National Merit semifinalists. The National Merit Scholarship Corporation has released its list of 16,000 semifinalists in the 70th Annual National Merit Scholarship Program, and 16 seniors from Rutherford County schools earned a spot on this coveted list. Our list of Rutherford County semifinalists are from Central Magnet School, Carlos Aguilar Alfonso, Jacob Anderson, Wyatt Brown, Charlotte Cushingham, Rebecca Jerkins. If you guys, if you'll come back and stay right, yeah, you get to stay right here. Yeah. There you go. Rebecca Jerkins, Ian Kelly, Evan Moody, Michael Pulowski, Riley Pelham, Miles Ritter, Ryan Russell, Sophia Stringfield, Samantha Warren, Summer Yun, Megan Zhao. So we have several of them here with us today. And then we also have from Stewart's Creek High School, Jacob S. Jones. So congratulations to these students. Oh, we'll give you a second, sorry. Thank you, guys. And if you will, Mr. Evans is going to go outside and take pictures. Thank you, Dr. Ash, Dr. Harrell, for being here to represent your schools as well.
We'll continue as soon as the doors are closed. Next up, we have instruction, number 8.
Several items. So first, we have an additional Arabic parent liaison for the ESL department. The ESL department is requesting to add an additional Arabic parent liaison. With the increase of Arabic speakers in the district, there's a need for additional translations for school documents, district documents, parent communication, and meetings, and enrollment support. This is a 10-month position that will be funded by Title III. Recommended motions to approve for an additional Arabic parent liaison for the ESL department that will be completely funded by Title III funds for the 24-25 school year.
Have any questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
We have a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Motion passes. Next, we have number 2 under instruction.
Optimal Health for Me, or OH4M. Optimal Health for Me is a sexual risk avoidance, or SRA program promoting a holistic approach to sex and healthy relationships. This program aids to provide trained speakers to classrooms within RCS aligned to the standards within the expectations of family life instruction. This program complies with TCA 49.6.1301 through TCA 49.6.1308, requiring a program to be age-appropriate, sexual risk avoidance, abstinence-centered, evidence-based, and medically accurate. Program is available for grades 6 through 12 and ranges from 3 to 5 lessons. Recommended motions to approve the memorandum of understanding between OH4M and RCS as presented.
Any comments or questions?
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
I just want to stress here that one thing that I am really like that they have is that they're stressing the sexual risk avoidance / abstinence center. And you can call me prudish, that's okay. But I grew up in the 90s where it was a purity culture, so, and I'm aging myself. But I'm really happy to see a group coming and advocating for abstinence. So I just want to commend them for doing that.
Yes, Ms. Sharp.
Thank you. For those of you in the audience that didn't have the benefit of being here last night or knowing the group that does this, many of you have probably heard of Portico. So Portico is the agency that comes in. We have several different agencies that come in and do supplemental teaching. So I know this has been an issue, but it's Portico that is behind this, and you would have heard the director yesterday come in and speak, and we think that this is a good thing.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Vaught.
The question I had, and I should have asked it last night, how are they funded? I know it doesn't cost the district anything, but how is that group funded? Does anybody know?
I do not.
They raise money. They have,
Yeah, I think
they
they're-
raise money.
You have to suspend the rules if we're going to allow someone from the audience to speak.
I'm sorry, you can't.
Sorry, yeah.
But I do believe they are a charitable organization, and they solicit donations. Yeah, a
I understood it was
501(c)(3).
free to the county, but my concern, not a concern, I was just curious how they employ their people, how they pay for them. You know, was it a, a state grant, federal grant, charitable contribution, great benefactor? I was just curious. Did anybody know? That was what
Could be all three.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
Thank you. I don't know specifics of this, but I do know that with Portico is a donation-based organization. So if they're affiliated with Portico, and if anyone knows any knowledge about Portico, then there should be some kind of donations that is coming in to fund this. So I can't speak to it and say that is 100% donation-based, but with experience of Portico, they are more of a donation type of organization.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Oh, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? The ayes have it, motion passes. Number 3, science curriculum.
The names and qualifications of the following individuals are being submitted for appointment to the 24-25 Science Curriculum Adoption Committee upon board approval. The appropriate forms, Education Department Form 2150 are attached. Document includes educators, parents, and experts to serve on each respected committee. Recommended motion is to approve the individuals submitted to serve on the 24-25 Science Curriculum Adoption Committee. And this will come back to the board for approval of those by April 15th.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Oh, could you state that again, Mr. Vaught?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. I will ask, would you please say my name, please? I'm not catching all the fingers going up, so please say my name or Madam Chair. Next.
The academic calendar for 25-26, and this is in tab 2. We discussed it at our work session last night. Recommended motions to approve the 25-26 academic calendar is presented.
Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I don't have a motion, Paula. I'll entertain a motion. Sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have legal.
We've got ESL. We still got that one.
Sorry, ESL, apologize.
Yeah, we discussed these ESL positions last night, so unless there's questions, the recommended motion is to approve 21 ESL positions to meet the state requirements of teacher-to-student ratios. And that's on top of the 25 we already had earlier this year, so that is 46 new ESL positions.
It's growing.
Yep.
Ever growing.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion we approve. It's very, very needed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Motion passes. Next, we have legal.
We have Ada County transfer student. The board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was expelled for possession of 2 knives in the backpack. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admissions of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation is to deny admission. However, the board can admit or deny the admission of this Ada County transfer student.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to deny.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Motion passes. Next, number 2, use of facilities.
And just to clarify, we discussed this last night, so we've moved this to a 1-week review. As long as people have them 1 week in, then we will have them on the board agenda. And also just to clarify that if anyone is on the board agenda for a retro review, we have all of their required information, including insurance.
Any other comments or just questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Was there a motion on that?
It could be to change the 1 week. We could probably use one just to make sure.
We covered our bases.
Yep.
Number 10, engineering and construction.
This is some good news. Request for Laverne High School Annex Bid 3766. On Thursday, September 26, 2024, Purchasing, Engineering, and Construction received bids for the site work and construction of the annex for Laverne High. All bids have been reviewed, and Engineering and Construction recommends Robert S. Biskin and Company, $36,340,000 base bid plus alternate number 1 of $90,000 for a total bid of $36,430,000. Engineering recommends motion to approve the request and moving forward to Health and Education with a request for funding in the amount of $43,930,000. That breakdown's construction's $36,430,000, construction-related contracts $2 million, furniture, fixtures, and equipment $3 million, design of $2.5 million that has already been funded. The total request is $43,930,000, but again, we've already funded 2.5 of that. Recommended motions to send to Health and Education for Robert S. Biscuit and Company for $36,430,000 and a total project request for funding at $43,930,000 as presented.
I'm excited to get moving on this. Any comments? Yes, Ms. Darby.
Dr. Sullivan, do you anticipate any issue funding-wise? Because I know we've had lots of discussion about land and that we're in desperate need of a new high school as well. I just don't want to go down this road and then be told later, well, we funded this and now we can't. And my biggest concern with that is simply that this is providing us roughly 600 extra seats, was it yesterday?
It'll get us to 2,500, yes.
And a new school obviously would get us
Much higher.
over
yes.
2,000, so.
And every one of my conversations with the county commission has always been both.
Okay.
And so I've always stated we needed to have both.
Okay.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Thank you. Motion passes. Number 2, request for Simon Springs.
This is the request for Simon Springs casework and restroom renovation, bid 3770 and 3771. On Tuesday, September 24th, Purchasing and Engineering Construction received bids for the casework and selected renovations for Phase 2 of Simon Springs. All bids have been reviewed, and Engineering Construction recommends Steve Ward and Associates casework bid of $237,723 and the bid for selected renovations to Romock Incorporated for $715,000. For procurement of furniture, equipment, and technology, we request the reallocation of $600,000 from Westbrook's Woods to this project. Recommended motions to approve the casework and selected renovation bids as presented.
Any comments or questions?
So moved.
Madam Chair, let me, it just seems like to me this is we're throwing good money after bad in this building. I mean, it's going to cost us no telling how much to finish it. And I don't guess we could sell it.
It's a different building.
Ms. Claire Maxwell?
Yes.
Okay,
Can we clarify
so-
which building this is?
Yeah, so
This-
Westbrook Woods, the renovation design, and Mr. Vaughn hasn't been here for all the conversations. So just for clarification's sake, this building on Church Street really is to help us with getting more seats for an alternative school.
But we're on.
Still on the other
We're
one.
still on Simon Springs, which is in Smyrna. We're not to the Westbrook Woods.
Oh,
My
okay.
mistake.
Okay, so he was talking about.
That's why
Okay,
I was
all right,
afraid you were at
sounds
the
good.
wrong one. Okay. So let's go back. This is a request for Simon Springs.
Yes, and this is the former Laverne Primary, then / Roy Waldron Annex, now Simon Springs.
Okay. Do I have any motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Now we go to Westbrook Woods renovation design and review update.
Reviewed that, and I think that gets to what Mr. Vaughn was mentioning. I think that's something as a board we'll discuss as our retreat as well. What's the future for this building? I met with, we'll go ahead and throw it out there, Trey, what do you think? Sure, why not?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lee came up with an idea over the last 24 hours that may be useful for us, so I'll let you kind of take it real quick. And Ms. Sturbins, I apologize that you're just hearing this at the board meeting because it has been in the last hour, so.
There's been a lot of conversations around the city's requirements after we've purchased this building, and they continue to grow, and the cost associated with those requests continues to grow. And I think Mr. Vaught kind of hinted around at it last night. Are we approaching that point where it's not, the cost is becoming to a point where it's not a sound financial decision for us? And I said last night, I think we're getting there. On that, I didn't sleep real well, so I was doing what I do. I was looking at what options, where can we go? And presented with Dr. Sullivan today The Daniel McKee property that we currently have is 5 acres. That building was built in 1950. It's about 9,000 square feet. We currently have about 8 to 10 portables behind that building. We were never able to consider it as an option for anything else because it was on a septic system. It was on its own septic system, and every time it rained, we couldn't flush the commodes, so the kids would not be able to use the restrooms. Fortunately, the city finally got sewer out there far enough about a year and a half ago, and I was able to tie that building onto the city sewer, which alleviated the problem in the current facility. My thought was, as an option, something to consider, we could relocate the portables that we have now out of the way, build a 2-story, 12,000 square foot building to our liking, not try and make something fit for probably where we're going with these numbers in that ballpark. Now that we have sewer, it makes it feasible. I'm not saying that we have to go there. I'm saying we have options in the city now that we did not previously have. With some of the demands that are being pushed to us, I'm not sure that we're not ready for you all to have another conversation. And we're 2 to 3 months away from getting all the things that the cities ask us or going to ask us to do from a design standpoint before we would be anywhere near putting something out for bid. So that was something I brought to Dr. Sullivan today, and I'm sorry I didn't have a formal presentation. It just kind of came to me in this discussion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
I think it's a whole lot better option. I mean, I think, like I said, I think we're throwing good money after bad on Church Street. I just don't see that it's going to be worth the amount of money we're going to spend. I don't know what we can do with it. Maybe have a bomb shelter or something. But
Yes, Mr. Vaught.
You took it away from me. I had it under other business tonight. I got up at 4 o'clock this morning, thinking about the same thing. So next time this happens, I'm going to call you. We'll just talk,
He's awake.
through it together.
He's awake.
And seriously, because I had thought, that, you know, all right, that's an antiquated building out there that could be replaced. You can utilize that site, and you don't go to throwing good money after bad, so to speak. So it makes sense. It really makes good sense. But
I will tell you, there are parents that are going to be very excited, and I've had a lot of constituents say, this building is not in good shape, and I know what it looks like, and I think that's a great idea. Further discussion?
I think go ahead, Ms. Sharp, and then I'll finish.
Yes, yes, Ms. Sharp.
So we're going to build on to Daniel McKee. What are we going to do with the building on Church Street? Just make it an admin building? Because then that wouldn't put us under the bus constraints and the other.
I think there's future discussion to be had by this board. I do think when we first purchased it for the money that we were looking at, we could not build office space for that price, so it still could have function for us because we're continuing to grow, and I don't see us being able, I'm sorry, I'm already out on this limb, I'll keep going. I do not see with our request for seats for students that we're going to be able to get $4 or $5 million to add on to this building for office space. Could we shift a couple of departments down there, do some minor remodeling and make it financially feasible? Yes. But that, I think there's options for the board, and one of those options would be, could we use it for that purpose? And another option would be selling it. I mean, think we should rush into anything, and I don't want us to feel like we've got our arm tied behind our back either. I think when we made that decision, we did make a good decision based on what we had and the money that we were looking at. To try and go further with the alternative structure is what puts us in a different light from the state level and from the city level. If we stay like it is with some offices and do some minor remodeling, a lot of this stuff we don't have to do. It's all good. We can utilize it with less expense and it's still a financially responsible purchase.
And we could lease it as well.
You could do that as well. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The board would have multiple options.
Good thinking. I'm sorry you couldn't sleep last night, and you too, Mr. Vaught, but very good thinking.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Ms.
Okay, I just want to get clarity. So some of the issues that we talked about last night is causing some issues of us to reimagine, rethinking what this used for the building. Originally, the reason why we moved forward with this is because we were looking at adding more seats to, in dealing with a situation with our alternative schools and adding more seats to that. Does this building, with the issues that were going to happen, maybe you've answered this question and I missed it, does that still serve that purpose? To put seats in there for kids to use for an option as alternative school? Because we had the middle school's principals send us a letter and asking us to bring a solution to figure out what the problem with the alternative schools and the behaviors in their schools.
That's part of the other Daniel McKee suggestion, because that would add this same amount of additional seats. When we looked at that building, codes were a little bit different as well. And so now that to bring it to par, to bring students into that building, we could build our own on our own campus.
Will that be faster? Will we build that faster than what's happening in
It all
Church
depends on funding, because we would have to go back for funding for renovations regardless.
And what does it cost? I think if we're going to have to make decisions, we got to look at from an apples-to-apples situation, because we bought this building with the pretenses that the number one goal outside of the administrative is to give relief to our middle school principals, particularly that we're going to give them more seats for their alternative schools because of the issues and the problems that they're having with behavioral. To me, that's really more of a priority than it is than at the administrative offices. We've lived the way with the tightness here, we can continue to live it. But my priority as a school board member, and I'm just speaking for myself, is to help the principals alleviate the problem with behavioral. And this all started because we were going to give them that relief. And so for me, if that question is not resolved, then we've got to go back to the drawing board and figure something out. But we've got to look at it from an apples to apples. And that for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, is starting at the priority is the behavioral aspect of it.
What number of students do you think we could, if we remodel, or built another Daniel McKee, a new, better 2.0?
Several hundred, because that can hold up to 100 right now with all the portables, and you're looking at 12 to 13,000 square feet, probably a two-story building. So you'd be able to triple its size. Well, add 2 more times its size.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
The thought process to answer I'm going to try and answer your question. This will exceed what we were trying to do with this building, because the proposal, and there again, came to me in the night, so I don't have it. If you built a 2-story building, basically we would take the Daniel McKee building and all the portables and put them in the 2-story building. That leaves the older building in front. What do we do with it? There is your middle school alternative school. We go in, paint it, clean it up, freshen it up, rehab it. We have a middle school in one, the high school in the other, and we better utilize that site. We've got them all together. So the answer to your question, we are providing those seats. The big question that you're asking is, what is the time frame? Mm-hmm. I haven't started a design really for either one that much. Unfortunately we've been chasing the city because we've been trying to figure out what they want. We have a floor plan, basically, is all we have. So we're not that far down the road as far as drawings go. So time frame wise, there's probably not 4 to 6 weeks difference from a standpoint, because we would still have to go through the complete drawing process. We're going to have to go through the city process. We're going to have to go through the state process. So from an overall time standpoint, which one do I get in quicker? It's not like it's 6 months or a year's difference between the two options. There is a difference, and I would say 4 to 6 weeks based on where we currently are in design of that, the 814 building for an alternative school.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
Can I make a motion to move this conversation to add it as part of our agenda in our retreat?
Sure.
So I make a motion to move this conversation for us to discuss it in detail so to give Trey Lee and his team time to bring us with scenarios and look at things from apples to apples and discuss it during retreat. Does not mean we're making decisions. It just means we're getting the information that we need. Yeah, move it to the agenda for the retreat.
Do we have a second for that? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move it to the agenda for the retreat.
I got one question.
Yes, Mr.
Mr. Lee, is that going to slow you down any?
Sir?
If we put it off until the retreat, is that going to slow you down any?
No, sir.
I mean, we don't know how long it's going to take the way it is now, 'cause we don't know what the city's going to do. We could be doing this, kicking this can down the road.
Well, based on the time frame that I have currently, where we are with the current project, we're going through city requirements and different zoning and planning and till basically the end of February.
Yes, Mr. Vaught.
Trey, help me right here, because again, not being here 30 days. Have you acquired any funding for design? You hired an architect?
Yes, sir.
Where are you?
We do have an architect, and I've got the architect sitting on hold right now until we can. I got to a point where I needed y'all's direction, and that's what started all of this conversation.
You got the technical information on the existing building?
Yes, sir.
To carry it in a direction?
Yes, sir.
So you got it to a point. What will it take? Can you do a schematic? Do you have the ability do they have the ability to do a simple schematic to give us an idea of what it would look like? Not a full-blown set of plans, obviously, but give us...
You talking about for Daniel
Yeah,
McKee?
for Daniel
Sure,
McKee, or at least for that site, how would you maximize that footprint? Since land is scarce and land is getting high in the county, I think if you do something there, we owe it to ourselves to maximize that site, whether that's all at one time or an addition later on or something like that. Do you have the ability to acquire that for us to give us something to look at it?
The site's going to be fairly restrictive.
Right.
So the Daniel McKee's not like a wide open,
Right,
nice big square. It's more L-shaped.
right.
So we're kind of limited, but yes, I can do something fairly simple to give you some ideas.
Good. That's all. I just wanted to check, make sure
Okay.
he had the ability to give us enough information to make a decision. Thank you.
Good question. Okay, next, we move to number 4.
Thurman Princess Arts Academy Trail concrete request. Principal Dr. Mark Gagne is requesting to have concrete installed over the gravel arts trail. This project's being donated by Smyrna Ready Mix for the material and HMA for the labor. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and has no objection. Request is at no cost to the board. Recommended motions to approve the Thurman Princess Arts Academy request to concrete the arts walking trail as presented.
Any comments or questions?
I'd like to make a comment. Smyrna Ready Mix is involved in this, and, I'd just like to give hats off to Smyrna Ready Mix. I mean, I saw the contribution they made at Smyrna High School along with Dale Smith, and I mean, they're about as good a community neighbor as you can have. I just wish we had more of them, so.
Yep, they really do step up.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Motion passes. Next, we have number 5.
Wilson Elementary School requests to accept the Richard Siegel Grant. Principal Angela Barnes requesting permission to accept the awarded Richard Siegel Grant for $8,975 to fund outside recreational play equipment. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and finds no objection. This project is at no cost to the board. Recommended motion is to approve the Wilson Elementary Siegel Grant request as presented.
Any questions, comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Motion passes. Next, financial matters.
Creation and incorporation of the County Schools Foundation. A request has been made by a school board member to create and establish the County Schools Foundation with the primary objective of raising and managing funds to support the educational needs of Rutherford County schools. Foundation would ensure additional financial resources for student programs, teacher development, classroom technology, infrastructure improvements, and other educational initiatives. The incorporation of this foundation would benefit Rutherford County Schools' 51,000 plus pre-K through 12th grade students and serve as a venue for other foundations and corporations to make donations positively impacting the school system as a whole. Recommended motion is to approve the creation and establishment of the County Schools Foundation with the primary purpose of raising and managing funds to support the educational needs of Rutherford County schools and to authorize the board attorney to proceed with incorporation of the foundation.
Any comments or questions?
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
I'm really excited to put this forward. With everyone is aware that we are working on a very tight operational budget, and our educational needs exceeds far more than what we currently are operating. And we're needing to look at creative ways of where we can generate some revenue. And I believe this is another form, a way to do that, and for the purpose to serve not just one school, but all of our schools within our county. And with that, I would like to make a motion to move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I will say I think this is a wonderful idea. The city schools have benefited for years from their foundation, and it's about high time we have one. So thank you, Ms. Rosales. Next, we have 2 resolutions, but before we do the second one, in just a moment, I'd like to ask if it's okay we suspend the rules for the second resolution and let Commissioner Anthony Johnson come this way to speak with us tonight and answer any questions. So, Mr. Reed, could you read the first resolution, and then we will have Mr. Johnson step up, if that's okay. Would you like to vote on that? Okay, I need a motion to suspend the rules.
We just do the.
Well, we're going to do the first
motion
one first, and then we're going to do the second one.
Okay.
And then we suspend the rules on the second one.
Okay.
The first resolution you have before you as a board tonight is one addressing threats against schools, and basically is requesting the DA's office to fully prosecute, not that they haven't done that already, just we're asking for an emphasis to be placed on the full prosecution of any person who makes mass threats of violence against the school system. So the first resolution is, whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education has experienced a concerning increase of threats by students and individuals against schools, and whereas threats against schools create an atmosphere of fear among students, faculty, and staff, causing significant disruption to teachers' ability to teach and students' abilities to focus on instruction, and whereas the Rutherford County school system has over 50,000 students and the disruption of school results in the loss of a valuable educational time costing millions of dollars to the county, and whereas, as an example, Oakland High School recently lost a half a day of instruction due to a false threat, and whereas false threats against another school recently resulted in multiple parents picking up their students from school when school has just started, and whereas the state legislature has previously enacted legislation providing for the loss of driver's licenses to students and individuals making threats against schools, and whereas a greater deterrent is needed to curb the number of threats against schools, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education on this day that the Board of Education urges the District Attorney for Rutherford County to prosecute students and individuals making threats involving schools to the full extent allowed by law, including but not limited to criminal penalties and incarceration. These penalties would be in addition to the loss of driver's license privileges by students and individuals making such threats. So that's the resolution you have before you. You're urging the district attorney to fully prosecute anyone making threats against schools to the full extent allowed by law.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Any discussion, comment?
Question. If I understood correctly last night, Mr. Reed, of course, the DA prosecutes, but the individual, the perpetrator, has to be arrested first. Do we need to include the sheriff's department in this, the encouragement that the sheriff would pursue that? I mean,
I'll pass this resolution on to them if passed.
okay, that's the reason I said that. I don't want to leave them out of the loop because they're a critical part, and your hands,
Yep.
or the district is tied,
Correct.
limited in what we can do, or what you can do.
Correct.
Okay, that was clarification.
Thank you. I thought we'd have a roll call vote for this, please.
Mr. Vaught? Ms. Sharp? Mrs. Darby? Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosales?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxwell?
Yes.
All yes.
Just to clarify, I'd go back and have a motion first to make sure that it was, since it was a resolution, a motion and a second.
I did second it. He said,
did.
move-
Oh, okay.
Mr. Vaughn said, I moved to.
Then we're-
Yeah, we did have a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're
I
good.
was-
So there
My
was a
fault. You're
motion,
good.
It's okay.
And I seconded.
I did
So
not
we
mess up
follow
that time.
procedures.
Okay. Now I'd like to suspend the rules and to go ahead and vote so Commissioner Anthony Johnson can speak to us before we do the second resolution.
So I make a motion to suspend the rules.
We have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Johnson, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Board. First of all, I'd like for you to just remember that Public Works meeting, our next Public Works meeting is Tuesday, October the 8th. That's at 5:30. Just keep that in your notes. I come here tonight to humbly speak to you about a highly debated issue. Representative Darby said last night that we shouldn't be put in a place like this. Well, I agree. We shouldn't be. The place I'm in tonight this is my 47th anniversary, wedding anniversary. My wife's sitting at home, and I'm here speaking to you. I've got a wonderful wife. Not many people's spouse would put up with that. But my wife knows I have a passion for what I do, and that's to serve the public. That's my only reason for being on the county commission, is to try to help move this county forward the best way we can. How did we get started on this? Well, Mayor Cole, Mayor Carr, and our solid waste director, Bishop Wagner, were talking about the issues of Sand Hill, our convenience center in Laverne. It's gone on for quite a while. I don't know when, but sometime during this discussion, or these discussions, Mayor Cole brought up the matter that we needed to vacate the property as soon as possible. We don't have a lease. We haven't had a lease in 2 years, so that's a liability for the city of Laverne. We've been looking for property. I say we, our county staff has been looking for property. And I tell you, there's not a lot of property in Laverne. That's where the convenience center needs to be moved to. The Sand Hill site is a bad site. It's overrun with use. It's the second
largest used facility that we have. Smyrna G Street now, it was Weekly, but G Street is our number one, and Sand Hill's our number two as far as recycling and our whole operation. After we found out that we needed to move, of course, there again, we've been looking for the property. We had two options that were presented to us. One was the Stone River Road, and the other was LaSalle and Gingham. LaSalle and Gingham property is what I'm referring to because I want to change the narrative. I don't know why this is cutting in and out, but I want to change the narrative. We're not talking about school property, and we can say, yeah, we are, but what we're talking about is the other end of the school property. We will be entering or exiting from LaSalle and Gingham. We would have 200 feet buffer of trees. Right now, it's almost solid trees. We have two schools on the other end of the property. It was said last night that both these schools are Title I, and these children will be looking out their windows every day, looking at the dump. That's false. It's not a dump. It's a recycling facility and a trash disposal facility. It's been said that we'll have a varmint problem out there, that we'll have derelicts, workers, and this has been said away from the meetings, but actually alluded to our workers being undesirable, to put it lightly, and I find that offensive, and I'm sure they do. That's not the case. We have good workers. They're vetted before they're hired, and they do a marvelous job out there at all of these convenience centers. We have 14 at this time, because one is down for renovation. Like I said, we need about 5 or 6 acres of this property. The entrance and exit would be on the far side of the school property. The traffic would not intermingle. The traffic that goes to Sand Hill, most of that traffic comes right by this piece of property anyway, the proposed piece of property. Is it just me, or this is cutting in?
It doesn't cut out on this way. It cuts out when you're standing in that one, though.
Okay.
But it'll be part of our next budget request to update.
Yeah, and it's hot up here too. Could
It
we
is.
request more air? Okay. Like I said, we started looking for property, and then this came to Public Works, and we voted to move money that was already appropriated for a convenience site. We're not doing that site right now. We're going to move that money, and we already voted to do that, move the money to pay for this site in Laverne, because it's much needed. This site came through purchasing, and during that purchasing meeting, we were presented the plan, and I asked Mayor Carr, I'm on the purchasing committee, and Mayor Carr is the chairman. I asked Mayor Carr, have we gone to the school board with this, and what did they say? His answer was, we don't have to go to the school board, we own the property, and we're going to do it. I responded that I don't work like that, and the county commission can't work like that. It doesn't work.
And it's obvious from other things that have gone on, I think all of you know, things aren't running very smooth with the county. It could be a lot better, and it will get better. And that's my intentions for being here, is to have a better working relationship with this board, the county commission and this board. We're the funding body. We have to fund your budget and your request. That's what we do. We've never taken away from the classrooms. We've always tried to fund what you ask for. We don't fund all the wants, but we fund, as far as I know, we've always funded the needs and then some of the wants. But also during that purchasing meeting, after back and forth with Mayor Carr and myself, Mayor Carr looked at me, and it's on video. You can look it up. It's a purchasing meeting. Mayor Carr looked at me and said, "I'm not calling the school board. You can call them." So that's what I started doing. I came to the school board. You can come to you, but I reached out to my representative, Katie Darby, and asked her if she would reach out to all of you, because I didn't have all of your information to get a hold of you. But I did start reaching out to the ones that I had your information. I did not reach out to all the commissioners. Sorry, not commissioners, but board members. I did not reach out to Representative Sharp because of comments that she had already made that were very negative towards what we were doing before reaching out and getting the facts. Going on Facebook, ladies and gentlemen, is not the way to handle business for the county in any means. It's good to be on Facebook if you're going to have your facts and present the facts to everyone. But to just go off and start talking about something that you haven't been educated on, you haven't taken the time to find out the facts, is totally ridiculous and appalling. So I have reached out to the board, and that's why I'm here. I had several conversations with my representative, Ms. Darby, and during the first 2 or 3 conversations, I heard nothing about a resolution. But after my first contact with my representative, she started having a resolution drawn up. And that's why we're here tonight. I had to find it out from someone else. Then when I asked my representative, or it came up in conversation, she did say, yes, I'm behind this, I have instigated this, and it's not to really stop this, it's just to let y'all know in a soft way that we don't want this. We don't want this land used for this purpose. I think I already said most of the traffic is already coming down that street anyway, or it's coming off of Murfreesboro Road and just stopping shy of that piece of property we're proposing. But this is an ideal piece of property if we can develop it. We don't even know if we can develop it right now, how much it's going to cost. But we do know land cost. It's very high. And it's a shortage of land, especially in Laverne. So we know it'll be even higher. Like I said, we had 2 options. There was Stones River Road and the Gingham LaSalle piece of property. And that's the way we're looking at it, Gingham and LaSalle. So after all of the comments last night, I felt it was important to come to you and kind of just let you know the truth, because the truth hasn't been put out there. We're in dire need. Laverne is in dire need. of a new convenience center. There's one thing that would stop me from voting on this piece of property to be used, and nobody brought it up. If the property can, if the people that are going to the convenience center, the new convenience center, and not get in there and get out without blocking the street traffic, I'm talking about just sitting in line. If we can't queue inside, then I'm going to be against it. But that hasn't even been asked. That'd be one of my first concerns down there. And I'm always concerned about the schools, but I know the piece of property. I've been there. I drove down there with my wife, and I said, where's the school? So we came in from that side. You can't see the schools. You won't see the schools from our facility if it's built there. 200 feet of trees. Right now, you can pull up to that property at LaSalle and Gingham, look into that property, and you see trees. You can't see 30 feet in there. We're talking about a 200-foot buffer when it's finished. Right now, it looks like a win-win if it's developable, if we can develop it. I had a lot more on here, but I'll just ask you, do you have any more questions, or have I touched on them?
Would
Ms.
anyone?
Maxwell?
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
I want to show to the commissioner something, and so that he can clarify for us if, and I'm going to try to put it up on the screen, that the diagram that was sent to me about this particular location, as soon as it connects to, I was saying it can't connect. Oh my goodness. Try one more time? Okay. Window. It's saying it can't connect. And I was trying to connect it. It was working earlier when we tried it. And it worked just fine. But I just want to get confirmation from the county commissioner and even from Trey Lee, because I've got two different diagrams that I want to put up on the screen, in particular with this as we're getting ready to vote. Because, is it coming? Okay, perfect. Okay, it's connecting now. Okay, perfect, awesome. All right, so this, I thought it was, okay, awesome. So this is the area, this is a convenient center layout that you guys are proposing to put the convenient center layout. And then this greenery stuff that is, those are the trees that you're looking at, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Where is the schooling look in regards to proximity to where all these trees are at that's blocking the view of this convenience center? Because in actuality, you can't even really see this is there unless you go into the location itself because of all of this trees that are there. So where is the school in location in the property? Like, is it over here in this area?
Right up there.
Right up there. Okay. So then I want to talk to Trey Lee. And this is an aerial view of the location that we're talking about. And we had a board meeting back in 2023 where we went over every single school in a district, and we talked about land that is not used right now. And this right here is 30.5 acres. And you can't see my notes, but in that meeting, I wrote that is rocky and limestone. And we were told at that time that in this area, it was not a good use of land because of the limestones that's there to develop anything. Is that correct? That's what I heard that meeting. I just want to get confirmation.
Number one, 30.5 acres is all of that property, that horseshoe around the school. So that side is not 30.5.
Right, but this whole thing.
Yes.
Yes,
that
that's
is correct.
But a lot of it is rocky. That's what I have on my notes.
The whole site is rock.
The whole site is rock.
Yes, that
And
doesn't mean you can't build on it, it's just rock.
it's just rock, so
Yes.
it's going to add to a lot of site development costs because it's rocky. And it's limestone.
I don't know about their development and where, if they're coming in from the other street, it may change, but yes, it would be fairly expensive.
It'll be fairly expensive, okay. Is this where this is where the county commissioners are planning to put the convenience center, is in this area? The 30.5 acres in this horseshoe? Or is it over here in the 9+ acres where, if you can't really read my notes, it says sewer and issues with wetlands? Which of the, is it here or here?
It's where LaSalle and.
Where he's talking about the 30.5.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay, so they're willing to develop, and then at the time, when we were looking at the 5-year plan and talking about, this property was not even thought of because everyone was under the impression that we were not going to do anything with it at all because of the potential costs of development with the limestone. And then now all of a sudden, we're talking about putting a 9th grade academy. I just needed to put it out there that that was never in question because it was said during this meeting that the site development and the cost for that, it was going to cost too much. And we still have 3+ acres over here and 3.5 acres on this side. So if we're going to put a 9th grade academy, we still have room somewhere within the vicinity of the Laverne Lake and Laverne Middle, somewhere to put that academy. So I don't think that will be an issue for us to say that we're taking up this land and putting a 9th grade academy. And I just wanted to point that out.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for coming. I did go to Facebook to talk to my constituents. That was my school board page because I heard secondhand on this. And those 2 schools are my school. I represent Zone 1. I do not represent Zone 7, Ms. Rosales. I'm not sure why you have a dog in this fight. But we do not need to put the dump, because that's what it is, on school property. I know that there's a need for it because I've been a 20-something-year resident of Laverne, just right down the street. Just right down the street. So I know that there is a need for that, but there's not a need for us to put it on our school property so our kids can see it. And there's a little thing that comes around once a year. It's called winter, that all the leaves fall off of all those trees. I would love to give you some other option for that, but I put this on the desk. This is our heat map from where we need more schools. And this is dated. This was November. This is almost a year. Like you said, there is no property up there, and that's no one's fault, but that's where we are. We have no property. And I don't see, when we've got 10,000 people that are coming on the other side of Waldron Road, that we need to give up this property for a convenience center, whatever you want to call it. So I'm sorry, we don't want to be contentious with this, but we were not contacted, the board was not contacted, and this is yet again another overreach from our mayor.
Ms. Maxwell?
Madam Chairman? Madam Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
I'd have to agree with that. That's another, did you say overreach?
Yes.
I don't know if I'd say overreach. I'd say it's lack of doing a job on the mayor's part. I'll probably hear about that, but I'm sorry. I just tell it like it is. I'm not going to lie to you. I tell you the truth as I know it. I do my research, and I want to say Commissioner, but Representative Vaught, you know me from many years back. We served for 17 years on the county commission. Now I'm back up there, and I've always told the truth, and I strive to move the county forward, and that's what we're trying to do. These kids are not going to see this dump every day, like's being said. Doesn't matter. And also, last night, Representative Sharp, of course, mentioned there's other properties, but she keeps calling it a dump. It's officially not a dump. And it's been a fact for years that people call Republic Mount Trashmore. Last night, our school board member Representative Sharp, through her research, found out, I guess, that it's Mount Trushmore. And I watched this 5 times. I didn't go to bed until 2:15 this morning. Went to sleep at 4:15, got up at 6:15. So yeah, I didn't sleep last night either because of this. And I'd like to say too, when I reached out to the representatives, Stan Ball was in Florida in the middle of a hurricane. He called me contemplating on, oh, should we leave or not? Thank goodness he got home safely, but he didn't know that at that time, but he took time to call me. That says volumes about that representative. We do have options, and we've been told that we don't work together. Well, and talking about responsibility, last night someone up here said, it's not our responsibility as a school board to give you land or find you land. Well, that's true. But when you talk about responsibility, the county is not responsible or obligated to have a convenience center in Laverne. The county is not obligated to pick up school trash. That's institutional trash. By law, we don't have to pick up school trash. We do it. We don't complain, and we're trying to improve that situation too. And we will. But we're not required to, but we do. So, yes, I think the county works very well. The county commission works very well and has in the past. You know, even though we've had problems and bumps in the road, we get the job done. You get the job done and we get the job done. And it's through working together. And eventually, over the years, we've always come to that conclusion. We get the job done. And we don't listen to a bunch of rhetoric that's just uncalled for, just trying to knock something down for whatever thought is in somebody's mind, because I don't know what it is. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and we appreciate it so much.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Mr.
I just want to say one thing. You're saying to me that I don't have a stick in the bone in this because I'm in Zone 7. We do have a bone and stick in this because we need to find land and we need to build a high school in the north end because there is a lot of overcrowding over in that area. And a school today costs upwards, is going to be the cost of upward $200 million to build a high school. And we need to also get funding for the property to build that particular school on the north end. And we're in the process of getting ready. If something comes up, which I hope it will be very, very soon, where we're going to go before the county commissioners to ask for them to foot a bill of upwards close to $200 million for the cost of the land to buy the land and to put a high school there to relieve the overcrowding that is happening over in high school. So yes, we all have a dog in the bone in this. Absolutely. Yes, we do.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Darby.
There are a lot of opinions, there are a lot of thoughts I think that everybody has, and I don't think that there's any, I just kind of want to clear the air on a few things. I don't think that there's any dispute as far as Laverne is in need of a convenience center. The commission is looking for a place to put one. I think my issue is that right next to an elementary school shouldn't be the default, and that's kind of what it has felt like to me. I know Mayor Cole has told me that he talked about, I believe it was property on David's Way, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that, but I could get, or Dick Buchanan, sorry, Dick Buchanan. And I know that there are several acres for sale off of Old Nashville Highway, not far from Sam Ridley, that is within the city of Laverne as well. I'm also not a real estate agent, but if there was absolutely no other option, I would be a little more open to potentially doing something with that. My biggest concern isn't even so much the traffic. It's more about what we're saying to the students of Laverne. It's more about giving people who shouldn't be super close to an elementary or middle school a reason, a legit reason to be there. The safety of our students is paramount to me. Making sure that our students in Laverne feel valued. We don't have any other convenience centers, trash receptacles, dumps, whatever you want. My family refers to the one on Weekly Lane as a dump, so I've always just called it the dump. We don't have any of those next to our other schools. And Laverne Lake is not my school, but I certainly don't want to start setting a precedence that we're going to start putting trash centers on our school property. I also have a concern with when funds to purchase land for school purposes are talked about publicly, that we're going to spend this money out of the education budget for Rutherford County on educational things and buildings for schools, and then it gets taken and used for another purpose, but those dollars don't ever get put back into education. Then it starts to look like education is costing all this money when some of that money is actually not for education, it's been used for other purposes. I am looking forward to our commission and our school board continuing with good relationships, trying to work together to help solve it. I will gladly go with you, Mr. Johnson, to the people that own the property on Dick Buchanan and see if they're interested in selling. I don't have an issue with that. I think it's important for all of us to work together. But I also don't believe that just because, from what I was told, that the county didn't want to have to find money to spend on land, that school property should be the default for the convenience center. I have concerns, like I said, about the safety of our students. I do have concerns about the potential pest or rodent problem that having one that close in proximity could bring. So I am just not in favor of this, and to me it was, if the majority of the board felt the same, it was a good way to just let the county commission know where the board sat on it. Again, nothing more, nothing less. I echo your sentiments that I think everybody is trying to do what's best. It is your job to do what's best for the county. It is our job to do what's best for our students. And sometimes those are going to be hard to marry in certain situations. And I think, unfortunately, this is one of those situations. But at the end of the day, I have to answer for the students of our county. And I don't feel that this is the best decision for them. And I know of some other land that is available. Whether it would be suitable or not, I don't know. But I do think there are some other options that could be looked at before this becomes the absolute option.
Ms. Maxwell?
Ms.
I
Roselle.
just want to say one thing. I want to clear up what a resolution is, because last night it was said that a resolution is not a big deal. Well, I went on Google and I typed in, what does a resolution mean? And Gemini AI said, a resolution is a formal way for a legislative body to express its opinion or will on a topic. In school boards, resolutions can be used to create a stance for the entire body, even if the administration doesn't agree. They can also be used to pressure government representatives to listen to the students, to listen to the school's demands. So you may think that this is not a big deal, that this is a soft stance. A resolution is not the go about it. We've heard today that our commissioner, Anthony Johnson, went and spoke to his school board representative to talk about the concerns. And no time during the conversation was it brought up that they were going to bring a resolution. If there was questions and concerns about this, that's when it should have been brought. Because at the end of the day, the county and the school board is supposed to be working together in order to get the needs of the county fulfilled. And we've got serious demands, serious asks, and big ticket items. And a resolution is not going to help the need that we still need at the end of the day a high school that's going to cost us $200 million, a middle school that we're yet to build that's going to cost another $70 million. And there's no telling what other costs that we're going to need for construction because of the growth that is happening. So this is not the way for us to work together with the county in trying to get something resolved. So I'm totally 100% against this resolution.
Madam Chair.
Yes, but Dr. Sullivan would
You
like to
need
say
to,
something.
you need to gavel back in.
Oh, so sorry.
We're back in session.
Okay, we're back in session. Sorry.
I just would like to say, Commissioner Johnson and I did have conversations, and he was very aware with how I personally felt about it. So I would ask that you refrain from speaking about me and my conversations with the commissioner. As far as the funding that we will be asking for other projects, that has absolutely nothing to do with what we are currently talking about today. If we need funding to build middle schools, to build another high school, those stand on their own merit for their own reasons. They should have no sway at all in this particular situation. This is a completely separate situation. And I would ask that if we're going to make decisions based off of, well, if we do this, then someone might not fund that, what kind of a relationship do we have at that point? We all have to be honest. The school board has to be honest about what we need and what we're asking for, and the commission has to be honest with us about how we feel. Like I've said, it doesn't always mean that we're going to agree, and it doesn't mean that the school board will always get their way, and it doesn't mean that the commission will always get theirs. It is about working together. It is about having that conversation. I was simply trying to put together a formal way to let the commission know how the school board felt on the matter, if the majority of the school board decides that they feel that way. That's it. To your point, the definition of the resolution says, or a way to pressure. It doesn't say that it is the absolute thing that it does. We write resolutions all the time. The one that we spoke about previous to this was to encourage the litigation going forward. This resolution is to simply state this is how the board feels about this particular situation, if the board decides to vote to go that way. I think it's important that we move forward working with the commission. I think it's important that if we're going to seriously entertain putting a convenience center dump next to one of our school buildings, that we have exhausted all other avenues and possibilities for somewhere else for that to be. Putting a dump there, in my opinion, is not in the best interest of our students.
Madam Chair, I want to make a motion, we deny this resolution.
Second.
Have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
It's roll call.
Oh, wait a minute. We're just now getting to the motion.
Okay, sorry.
I've been waiting on somebody to
You want
make a
some further
motion on the
discussion?
table.
I'm
This is-
sorry.
We've been going on for 30 minutes here.
I apologize. Apologies to you, Mr. Vaughn. I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry.
just saying,
We've had quite
you
a bit
know.
of discussion, sorry.
Take it all in over here. Just see, it's a strange thing to me. It seems like everybody already knows the answer about what they're going to do before they get here. I think we owe it to the voting public, we owe it to our constituents to listen to dialogue on this side and this side before we even make our mind up. I'm almost appalled at the operation that's going on here. No reflection on you, Madam Chairman. I'm just a little concerned that we don't listen to everything here before we make a decision. Ms. Darby, I would concur on some of your points. I would concur on some of your points. I've worked with Anthony Johnson for many years. We did serve on the county commission together. Give y'all a little history if you'd like to know about it, but I get chastised every time I talk about the olden days. But years ago when the County Convenience Center started, this was a grant that came from the TVA to help us police and bring everything within a fenced area. If some of you that are old as I am remember the old convenience boxes that sat at the end of roads and people would set them on fire or drag them out in the road, we've come a long way, haven't we, Anthony? Well, at least we got them behind a fence. We got an attendant at each one of them. Some of the dialogue toward the people that work there, the people that visit there, these are taxpayers. These are constituents of our community. They utilize the service that the county offers. The derogatory comments concern me just a little bit, but the history on this particular site was, and I cannot remember his name, Anthony, you may have to help me, but I think it was Mayor Mike Webb, owned the tire shop down there, right? Mayor Webb came to us years ago, wanted a site in Laverne. As the city grew, they didn't have a place to do it. The county commission took the position. I think it was Mayor, who was it? It would have been before. It might have been Nancy or Miss Allen that said, okay, if y'all provide a site, we'll build, if you provide the land, y'all build the site. So, I'm just a little concerned that we haven't heard any dialogue from Mayor Cole, which you both have mentioned here. The request from the mayor and the city council to vacate? What's brought all that about? Have they looked at any options? I brought this up last night. Of course, then I think, well, I'm overstepping my bounds. They need to negotiate themselves. The question laid before us is, do we support this resolution or do we not? I think, for one, as stewards of the taxpayer dollar, just a little bit here, if we've got a piece of property, speaking from the school board standpoint, if we got a piece of property that we're not utilizing, that is not in the 5-year, 10-year plan, that if the county commission, and I like the idea we put these, what do they call them, the health and safety buildings, I call them the new fire stations, but yes, the health and safety buildings, which we were part of doing that, they have been located on the school sites. I did find out last night that property hasn't been deeded back to the county. I'm a little concerned about that from a liability standpoint on both entities here. If I understand TCA 149 that operates on us, it says that any property that's under the direction of us, under the local school board, I say us, it's not me, it's this body, is responsible for that property. So there's things there. If there's a formal request coming, I think the motion, Ms. Darby, is premature. That's my personal opinion here. I'm going to get that out. That's what I want to say, is that I think it's just premature until the design hadn't even been laid out. Right, Anthony? This is a possibility. It's the best possibility right now, but you said earlier you didn't even think it could be, they didn't even have the design or developed or whatever, but I don't know. I just think it's premature. That's my personal opinion.
Dr. Sullivan wanted to say something.
I just, of course, I follow whatever the majority of the school board does, and I want to thank Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Oliver. Thank you guys for being here. We have worked the last 2 years to have a great relationship, and so I appreciate the support that you guys have had with us as a county.
I want to thank you again for coming. I want to think that everyone will agree that the county kind of fumbled with this. They should have come to us, and I do appreciate you, Anthony, because you took the bull by the horns and you did contact us, and I do appreciate. I'm one of those people that you did speak with, and regardless of what happens tonight, I don't think it's a reflection on whether we think badly of Laverne or not, but passions run high when it comes to our schools and our children. So if everyone's okay, can Jeff Reed read the resolution?
I got one follow-up.
Yes, Mr. Vaught.
And I meant to ask this in my exercise a minute ago. Anthony's chairman of that committee that oversees this, but the commissioner from there, Ms. Oliver, right? Who else was from down there? Ms. Davidson, is that right?
Laura Davidson, yes.
Laura, is that right? Has there been any contact? And I would love to suspend the rules and let you speak if you want to. I mean, if it would help, would you like to? I would love to hear from you just as the commissioner from that area. Personally, I would move to suspend the rules.
Have a motion?
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Madam Chair, there was a motion and a second already on the floor that I believe we have to vote on first.
Yes. That was to, I believe, can you restate your,
Let's withdraw.
you want to withdraw your motion?
To allow the commissioners to speak. So I make a motion to suspend the rules to allow the commissioners to
You
speak.
take your motion.
Yes, sir. He has to withdraw his motion.
Put it on hold.
You have to,
I don't have to make it again.
he is are you withdrawing your motion, Ms. Rosales?
Actually, I didn't do the motions.
Are you withdrawing your motion?
I'm putting it on hold.
You have to withdraw it.
I'm at, yeah.
He's
You
withdrawing.
have to withdraw it, okay.
I'm gonna make it again. I just don't have to. So,
He's withdrawn his motion.
I'm sorry, I confused you because I thought I said the motion.
All agree, would you like to suspend the rules and have Ms. Hope Oliver speak? You need a motion?
Yeah, I already said the motion and Mr. Vaughn said second.
Okay, there you go. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Oliver? Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I generally watch your meetings online, but I felt I needed to come and support my colleague, considering that this is an area that I represent. I have received complaints, seemed like the whole 2 years I've been in office, about the Sand Hill site. It was brought before us that we, as my colleague said, we no longer have a lease of the property. Laverne has other things they want to do with the property. And so we were in a pinch, I guess, and trying to figure out other options. Again, in the meeting, Commissioner Johnson acknowledged that he would reach out to the board, which he did. But it sounds like, and then as far as things that I've heard, as far as commissioners or things I've heard from board members, was that there were no plans for the property. It was too expensive to develop if they were going to do anything about it. I remember specifically having a conversation about it when you guys were talking about the whole rezoning thing, wondering, okay, is there any land anywhere we could do anything before we send our Laverne citizens to another city to go to school? And again, at that time I was told was nothing we could do. You know, there's no other property, we don't have anything we can do. There's no plans for anything in Laverne. So it behooves me that now all of a sudden there's plans or I guess an idea to make some proposed plans, but anyway, for this property that is a way to resolve an issue for the citizens of Laverne, because where that Sand Hill Convenience Center is now, it is a very dangerous area. My own daughter had an accident on that curve. And then it's small for the amount of citizens that Laverne has now because it's grown. And additionally, a lot of our citizens are going to Smyrna. They're going to the new convenience center in Smyrna, and there's trash along Dick Buchanan, Murfreesboro Road, going to that center because our citizens are going to that center. So, I mean, that leaves trash that's floating around because of that. At any rate, when we looked at various opportunities to develop another center, again, as he mentioned, Stones River next to the Senior Citizen Center, that was not logistically going to work. And then the other property that you all keep mentioning on Dick Buchanan was not available. But the most convenient one, as far as infrastructure, things of that nature was concerned, seemed like this one because it has two roads. You go in one road to come out the other, and it's off of that Sand Hill road. So anyway, it seems like the challenge is you felt like you needed a formal presentation, a formal come before the board. That didn't happen. We're here now. We still need to resolve the issue. And as far as a resolution is concerned, I'm not sure if that's going to sway us one way or another. I don't know. It remains to be seen. But I think, as Director Sullivan stated, we have had an opportunity to be able to work together to resolve some issues, much needed issues as it relates to overcrowding and other things related to what our needs are for the school board. And I don't see this as being any different than us being able to come together to resolve this issue. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Would anybody like to ask any questions of Ms. Commissioner Oliver?
I'd like to make a comment. I wish you delivered to Mayor Cobb that now, if this is not the way that we do business.
Well, I would not say that it's Mayor Cole's, the onus is on Mayor Cole. I would not say that.
I will.
It was brought to our attention that we were no longer under a lease. And so then that's when the meetings happened and different things occurred. So I wouldn't just
We were
put it
never,
on
we were
Maricold.
never in the loop. Everybody had the loop but us, and it's our property. And, you know, if he'd have come to us and included us in the conversations, all this could have been avoided.
Well, again, as it was stated earlier, that's not the position that Mayor Cole is in. He's the mayor of the city of Laverne, not Rutherford County. So it would not be his position necessarily.
But he's affecting our schools and our property and things that affect decisions we got to make. I'd rather him just come to us, be honest with you, you know, from now on.
Well, as I stated, Mayor Cole is the mayor of Laverne, the city of Laverne, not Rutherford County. This was brought to us as a resolution from our county mayor. So, and the property is, you know, county property. The school board is county issues, not a city issue. So let's just make sure we keep those lines straight.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will gavel back in. Go. So we withdrew his motion. Do you have any more comments or discussion? And I'll entertain. Actually, Jeffrey, could you read the motion, please?
I'll read the motion. This is the resolution that's on the agenda. It's whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education understands there has been some discussion of locating a trash convenience center to property at Laverne Middle School and Laverne Lake Elementary, and whereas the Board of Education is in desperate need of property in the north end of Rutherford County to accommodate future growth in that area, and whereas the property at Laverne Middle School and Laverne Lake Elementary was acquired for school purposes, and whereas it is difficult for the Board of Education to locate property in the north end of Rutherford County for purchase, and whereas the remaining land at Laverne Middle School and Laverne Lake Elementary could serve as a ninth grade academy and for other buildings to meet the critical needs of the school system in the north end of the county, now therefore be resolved by the Board of Education that the Board of Education opposes the location of a trash convenience center at Laverne Middle School and Laverne Lake Elementary. So that is the resolution that's before you to decide whether you're in favor of it or against it. That's the item that's on the board agenda.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion, we deny.
Second.
Any other discussion? Motion is to deny the resolution.
Okay.
Could you roll call, please, Ms. Williams?
Mrs. Rosales?
Yes.
Ms. Sharp? Mr. Vaught?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mrs. Darby?
No.
Mrs. Maxwell?
Yes.
4 yes.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Vaught.
I would move that that we request the county commission to present to us the site plan and at least let us get a bird's eye view or look at it once the full design has been done for any input. If they do move forward with this, assuming they move forward with it, that I would like for us to take a look at it, especially Mr. Lee, just from a drainage standpoint or anything like that. So I would move to do that.
Second.
Second.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Yes. Could you help us with that, Mr. Commissioner Johnson? Thank you.
I was looking at it, but he sent me a copy of what we're planning on doing there. It's basically a clone of the G Street facility in Smyrna. So that's what we're trying to do. That's not an exact plan for that specific piece of property, but that's what we're planning on doing, is cloning G Street. Maybe we'll just keep some more improvements. And I fail to say, it will have vinyl fence around it, just like G Street. Nobody's complaining about it being unsightly. Our county court clerk building for Smyrna, or north end of the county, is adjacent to it. We've had no complaints, and none of our convenience centers in this county have ever had a complaint about garments or people that shouldn't be there working, like felons or whatever. That hasn't happened.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you for coming. Could we, I'm sorry, we were going to do a 3-minute recess, if that's okay, in just a minute. Take. I'd like to take a motion to, entertain a motion for recess for 3 minutes.
I so move.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there you go. We're in recess for 3 minutes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Shaw.
I wanted to say before they left, because in conversations with Ms. Darby, Mayor Cole had said that he would give them another year lease on that property. Is that,
Mayor Cole expressed to me that he was willing to work with them if they had some sites that they were looking at and they just needed more time to work it out. I don't think he's opposed to that from my conversations with him. I think he was just letting the county know that it could not remain there due to the safety concerns they had about its location and the road and stuff that it was on, that he was not going to entertain any long-term leases, but that he would extend a lease if they needed more time to procure an alternate site.
Okay, well, thank you.
but it was my understanding from watching the meetings that they have already moved money from the other project to this project. So they're further down the road than what we think they are.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam
We have
Chair.
up insurance?
Yes. No, we're fine.
No, it's okay.
We're good.
We're good. We're good.
Insurance update, open enrollment started today, runs through October 15th. So it is a passive enrollment, so if you don't make any changes, then you'll stay with the same insurance that you are currently on. Next is financial report. So we will do this monthly. So this will be fairly quick, just so everyone gets used to looking at our statements. I know those of you who've been on the board are very used to this. We're going to look at the two-page document first. This is Fund 141. So we have three main funds we look at: Fund 141 General Purpose, Fund 143 Centralized Cafeteria, and Fund 177 Capital Projects. So we're looking at Fund 141. We're going to look at revenue first. And when you are looking at revenue, the main ways that we are funded, of course, are locally and then the state level. Property tax and sales tax are our two at the local level, and then TISA is ours at the state level. You'll see property tax, and looking at these, you have the account codes to the left, the description right beside it, the total estimated that was passed by the county commission. The next column's month to date realized, year to date realized, what we have not received yet, and the percentage we've received yet. It is not surprising. Property taxes are not due till December, January, February, so we have only received 1% of that. Again, that's totally normal. Trustees collection is over. The big ones I like to go down to is 4210, so that is our local option sales tax. We have budgeted $102 million to receive. So far, we've received 17.9. It runs a month behind. And so we're already at 17%. So that is trending in the right direction. It is something we watch all the time. The other one is TISA, 46,510 towards the bottom. This replaced BEP. We estimate to bring in $334 million. We are receiving 10 payments of $33,454,000, that next column. And so far, we've received 2 payments. We've received August and September. We have not yet received that next big number, $267 million. And this is what we will be funded on, and there's always discussion of this. We have added students. This number will not increase. We are going to be funded on this number all year long, regardless of how many students that we enroll. You'll see just a couple other quick ones as we kind of go and scroll over to the next page. State revenue sharing with TVA. We have not received any of that yet. That's another bigger one, $2.7 million. So far, our total estimated revenue is $538 million. We, this month, received $45 million. Year to date, we've received $89 million, so right at 16.5%. So that is our revenue. Next, we will look at Fund 141, our expenditures. As is the case with most places, our 141 is our largest budget. We just looked at the revenue of being $538 million. Our expenditures this year on the very last page are $549 million. That does include $11.3 million transferred to our 3 charter schools. And that's the difference in your deficit. 71,100 is our biggest line item. That is our regular education. This is pretty much everything that happens in our schools. The teacher line item is the biggest one of that, 116. It's at $197,790,000. You'll see so far, we have only spent $16,607,000. It can be misleading because we're almost 2 months through the school year. Our payments for teachers are always a month behind, and so we've only had one teacher payroll run. And so that is just one teacher payroll. It's trending in the right direction. If you multiply it out, it could be a little bit over. That's not a surprise with the positions that we add. The thing that is nice is that it's nice and not nice. It's nice to be filling that number. That means our positions are filled. It's not nice from a money saving standpoint because it means your positions are filled. But it is nice that I'd much rather have classrooms filled. That is all 71,100, your numbers. I know Mr. Vaught knows all these. Mr. Vaughn, we can go over all of these at our retreat as well. The numbers stay the same. As you go into your different account codes, and just a couple things I wanted to point out on 141 that are a concern and a challenge that we will be hopefully asking the county commission to improve this year is in 449 on the second page. Textbooks. You'll see we only budgeted $1.5 million. I mentioned this last night because of our science textbooks. This will be one of the lines that we'll need to increase or take out of fund balance depending on what our textbook committee adoptions decide. And then the other one is 722, regular instruction equipment. This is our computers. And so we are a 1-to-1 district in middle and high school, 2-to-1 in elementary. We paused middle school for 1 extra year, so they are rolling on their 4th year of devices this year instead, so that we could have tried to meet maintenance of effort this year. So that line should be somewhere between $4 or $5 million, but we cut that and had make sure that our staff realized they had to do 1 extra year with those computers. So those are two that we have looked at. If you go over to the next couple, you'll just see across the pages, you have 71,150 alternative school. Again, same lines. Skipping over 2 more pages, we have special education. This is another big line for us. So now I'm at the top right corner, page 5 of 46, and I'm not going to go through all 46 pages, I promise. I like it, but we're not going to do that. You'll see our special education line again is right at about 8% for our teachers. And so that's where we would expect for it to be right around this time of the year. If you'll flip over 2 other pages, 71,300, I'm just pointing out the big ones. Career and technical education is another big line for us. That teacher line's $14 million. It's at 10%. It is over for a couple reasons right now. What we would anticipate, one, we have some teachers in those lines that work 12 months, whether they are in agriculture and some other CT areas that are 12 months. You also have some of this that is grant funded that we cover at the front, and then 50% is funded by the state as part of I've gone blank on the name. Yes, Innovative Schools Model Grant. Thank you, ISM. If you'll flip over to page, it's at least past page 16. Oh, I'm going to keep going. $72,410, so it's page 28 of 46. We're at 72,410, page 28 of 46. So I just wanted to point out the office of the principal. This is one of our other big ones. You'll see the principal line. We do have a large assistant principal pool. As our schools have gotten bigger, we've tried to add an assistant principal for every 500 kids. So it is not abnormal to see that assistant principal line bigger than our principal line just because the number of assistant principals we have. All of our comprehensive high schools now have 5 assistant principals just because of their size. And then the last 2 I wanted to highlight because they are always big lines is page 34 of 46. 72,610, operation of the plant. This is where our custodians are, and so we've got just over $10 million in custodians. You'll see that we have spent about a quarter of that, which would fall in line because our custodians start back on July 1st. And so we're about a quarter of the way through, and they are paid bi-weekly, not like teachers that are paid once a month and don't start till September. So this has been accruing since July 1st. And then the next one right beside it, 72,620, which is maintenance of plant, is our maintenance personnel and how we are upholding our buildings. So we'll do a much deeper dive into all of our budget and finances. Just wanted you to see where we were now that some of our payrolls have started to run. This is usually for Mr. Vaughn and Mr. Vaught. Mr. Runyon is our chief financial officer. Usually I do most of the finances. I had advice from one person while I was becoming director is make sure that you always learn finances so that someone can't hold it above you. So I've always made sure I've been involved in finances. So I know it may be strange that the director is presenting it, not the finance director, but if you have questions about the middle stuff, I promise Brian can get it. So that's all I have for financial and director's update. Oh, I lied. I have director's update with Christina Penny.
Okay.
Miss Penny is our new principal at Browns Chapel. She started really back in May when Miss Goosetree retired. Miss Penny has done an amazing job. She came from Wilson Elementary as the assistant principal. Not only has she had to do a good job in running a high-performing school, she has also had to have an influx of students because of our enrollment cap. The influx of students returning from charter schools, and then if they were at Stewart's Creek and they unenrolled, we then made them go to Browns Chapel. They could not go back to Stewart's Creek. So she has added several hundred students, made them all feel welcome. We keep adding more teachers to her, and she's doing a fabulous job.
Congratulations. Okay, Mr. Vaught, you didn't have anything too, so you don't have anything today either. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Okay, to general discussion.
Ms. Maxwell? Oh, I thought he didn't, I'm so sorry.
said he had
Mr.
something.
Vaughn. You said general discussion, I am so sorry.
I've got about 4 or 5, and I know it's a couple hours, but
Five questions, actually. The comment was made earlier, I think maybe it was Ms. Sharp, that said, that's my school, or that's my school. I was under the impression we're here to represent all schools.
is that, or am I supposed to be territorial to just the ones in my district? If I am, I didn't know that. I thought I was supposed to see all of them and represent all of them. So am I misled? Is it the way she said it is, or do I represent, I know I represent my area, but aren't I looking out for all the schools? I'm getting a consensus.
Yes.
Well, I'm directing it to the director and the chairman, but you're the one that said it earlier, so I just.
We do.
I did say it because
Represent all the schools.
we do represent them all, but our constituents from our areas are the one that votes for us and keep us here.
I understand that, but you just said my school, and I just, if I needed to say Las Cassius was my school or Oakland was my school, I was going to do that, but I just want to make sure I understood that. Speaking of Oakland, question about the Ag Barn. They've been having a little trouble about getting sewer hooked up. You got any? Hey,
I'll answer it.
you know John Marshall now. He's going to call, so
Yes, sir, I know Mr. Marshall.
yeah.
The
Are we
short,
making any headway?
Dr. Sullivan, I'll let you handle that.
I met with the city yesterday. Originally, before going down when this started, it was approved in January by our school board. It went to zoning, planning at the city council, and then did not make the city council meeting, and I don't know why. And so I questioned that yesterday.
Okay.
They are investigating that. During that time, and this was my call, we had it for bid, and the bid expires. We went ahead and built it because it was an ag barn.
Right.
And so that has caused some contention. And so I'm working with the city manager. We've emailed 3 times today after our meeting yesterday about how do we get towards a resolution. So.
Okay. And that's the reason, not to pick on anybody, I'm trying to figure out where the stop gaps are. Are there policies we need to put in place? Or, but it just sounds like something was overlooked by somebody somewhere, and we just got to figure it out, right? All right, good enough. I told him I'd ask, so that's right. The second thing was about the lights. Speaking of Oakland again, but I know there's been money spent or allocated to replace lights at all the football fields,
Football, baseball, softball. Yep.
This particular was from Coach Hawks, concerned about starting the baseball season, and what kind of logical...
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've got a plan, and,
I'll make it short.
sure,
We elected to address the schools that are in the direst need from a safety standpoint first.
sure.
Once those are addressed, we'll address the others. I have heard from both Oakland and Riverdale about spring fling and getting their ball fields fixed.
Right,
It's not going to happen.
okay,
It'll happen after baseball season is over.
okay,
Part of that is the logistics at some of the fields will not allow us to get it taken care of between January and March. At Riverdale,
Sure.
we're literally going to have to deconstruct bleachers and all kinds of things. They've built so many things in there.
Right.
You can't get to the poles. Now that they've put turf and some other things down, which is nothing wrong with the turf, we can't get the equipment
sure.
on it. So we have to approach it from a different standpoint.
So there's a logical method to the
Yes, sir.
madness that's been accounted for both with the schedules for the teams related to the work with the contract then. So everybody's kind of thought through this. It's just not,
I
we're
didn't, I
gonna go-
didn't get out my Ouija board and
Yeah,
try
okay,
and figure
all
it
right.
out. No, sir.
That was really for my benefit as much to understand.
And we,
I wish I could
approach-
make everybody first.
yeah.
Yes, I wish we could too, but there is a logical progression to all of this.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
To add to that, we also looked at, because Oakland and Riverdale fall right along where that Laverne Smyrna is, but when you're addressing Eagleville, Buchanan, and Lascassas, it's all south end / Murfreesboro, so we need to go then to the north end, Laverne Smyrna.
Oh, everybody's got to be included.
And so it was
Yeah.
we could have fit them into that category.
Sure.
The other part is, a lot of this is funded 177, so we need property tax to come in before we can start on
We
this.
don't want to get accused of playing favorites. I get it.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. So there was a logic to that. And then the other phone call, and I think somebody said we'd all gotten an email off this, was about some bus issues or assignment of routes or something like that, is that, I assume that's being addressed and probably...
This would be from, and I'll leave the contractor out.
Sure.
They have been addressed. They do not like the resolution that they have been given.
Okay.
They filed a formal complaint today to the director.
Okay.
That complaint will be addressed in the time frame that meets the contract.
Okay. So actually, the contract addresses those issues?
Yes,
or
sir.
how- It's not a board policy,
No,
it's a
sir.
contract.
It's a contract issue.
And that's all, because, help me, get me educated here, there's a new contract coming up next year?
Correct.
Is that right? So those types of issues are outlined within the bus contract?
It's been outlined for years.
Okay, all right, thank you for helping me with that.
And I will be sending to Dr. Sullivan this week my recommendations for the changes to the contract for y'all to review.
Updates, better flow, or whatever it is, sure.
Yes, sir.
Great. Last but not least, I like all y'all, but there's other things going on. Why do we meet 4 times a month? I'm just got a curious question right there. Is that policy? Has it always been? Again, years ago, there was 2 meetings a month, and now it seems like we're out here 4 times a month. Is there a particular reason?
I just assumed it was because the number of students that we had, and when I first came on the board, they had just dropped the work sessions, and that did not work well. They were only going, they did limit them, and we needed those work sessions to get the information that we needed. But
Okay.
to you all.
Well, I mean, it's an hour for me to get here. Not that that's a big inconvenience, but, if we could, instead of having an hour-long meeting, I'd rather have a 2-hour-long meeting or a 2.5-hour-long meeting and have it, yeah, well, yeah, we are 2 tonight, whatever. I know there's got to be a lot of bandwidth used with this group getting ready for these meetings. And it doesn't appear to me right now that it's an efficient use of time especially for them. If we stayed here another hour, took a break, had supper brought in, I don't know, I'm kind of being funny right there, but I'm just saying, could we start earlier? I don't know. Just, is there an opportunity to explore that maybe at the retreat? Could we talk about that?
Could absolutely
Would that
talk
be
about that.
an appropriate time to bring that up? Okay, that's all I have. Thank you for indulging me.
Ms. Sharp?
Thank you. I would like to thank Mr. Vaughn and Mr. Vaught for visiting Laverne High School today and remind everybody, I believe it's at 9 o'clock on October 21st, they're going to have the welding open house. And so I got a call today and said they were excited about the new school board members coming out and to make sure that everybody put on their schedule to come out to the open house. So they're very excited. Thank you. They're very excited about it, and I hear there's going to be some good food there, Mr. Valk. So y'all don't forget about it because they're very excited. Mr. Vaughn said that, you know, we've got some talent out there. I've talked before about the students, that we have the talent that's coming through our schools and the talent that they're doing with the welding. So everybody be ready.
Very exciting, very
Yes.
exciting. Anything else?
Yes, I have.
Ms. Rosales.
Thank you, sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun
least.
earlier, sorry about that. So, Jeff Reed, I want to implore upon Jeff Reed to draft up 2 resolutions. One, to go before the federal, we do a lot with the state and we bring the resolutions in. Last year, we were very successful in getting bills that were crafted and they actually got in front of committee. Whether they're passed or not, that's to be said. But we did a lot of work to present bills to go before the state legislature. But I think that we also need to work to present bills to go in front of our federal legislation. So one particularly that I would like to propose is to, and I've got my numbers, I was hoping Dr. Sullivan was going to speak into this, but tonight we voted on 21 new growth positions for ESL. But to give a perspective of where we're at, in September of last year, we were at in May of 2023, we were 6,214 ESL students. Those are students that are English or second language. And then from May to September of last year, we had a huge increase that went up towards 6,912. And then right now, as of last week, we are at 8,222 ESL students as of today. In my understanding, Dr. Sullivan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but these students require services. And these services are not cheap. It's a cost to us. So I would like to implore upon the board to look at a resolution to ask our federal government to give us funding through the Title III funds. Right now, I think the Title III funds are $1.3 million. And I know that we're using some of the costs to to go towards teaching positions and other add-ons. But as you can see, and everyone is aware, growth is a factor. It's a contributing factor to what's adding to our overcrowding in our schools. And so we're required by law to serve these kids. That's what we're mandated. We're doing that, and we're happy to do that. And we're doing a phenomenal job doing that, by the way. But we do need funding because it requires services. I don't know exactly the extra. I had asked Megan Turbo to give us the cost of what that would look like. So if she can get us numbers of that look like so that we can use it in the resolution and pass it. And it's time that we start working with our federal representatives, whether they're Senate or senators or House representatives, for them to also advocate for us on that side. And then on the other side, on the state legislature, I would like to propose the idea, and we've talked about it with Dr. Chastain, Margulian, and Megan, that their need and their ask is for translators. We need funding for translators. I know last year I worked very hard to get volunteers, but we need them on a consistent basis. It's almost like we've got to hire them. So I would like to create another resolution that we go before the state legislatures. We're asking for funding for translators. Thank you, sorry. So if we can get costs for that as well from Megan as well, that'd be great, so we can add it to the resolution. So I would like to propose those 2 resolutions, and hopefully we can have them on the agenda in October, not in October, in November. If it's the first week of October, that will be, of November, that will be great. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, I got two things. On a good note, Stewart's Creek Choir, Brian Russell is one of the co-directors there. Their Athens Treble Choir received an invitation to perform as a demonstration choir at the National Convention of the American Chorus Directors Society. And a second choir from Stewart's Creek was the Apollo Contra Ensemble will perform at the 66th Annual Professional Development Conference of the Tennessee Music Association, Education Association. And Apollo was the only high school bass ensemble in Tennessee to receive their exclusive honor. So, I mean, that's quite an honor. I mean, I think the scope of that and for them to be recognized shows you the caliber of their program. And I'd just like to give them, and again, like Ms. Sharp said, we visited Vernon High School today, and I just tell you, it was an amazing visit. Dr. Hatchett, the job she's done there, and the people. I mean, the kids were so disciplined, and I was impressed because when you get high school kids, when they get through eating lunch, if they saw something on the floor, they picked it up. They didn't depend on somebody else to pick it up. And I just thought that, that showed that these students at Laverne have taken ownership in that building. And I think that's because of Dr. Hatchett. And she's a no-nonsense woman. But, I mean, I'm telling you, she's the type of principal that teachers would go to the wall for. And I tell you, she's really made a difference. And we were really impressed with it today, very much so. So, congratulations to, it's beyond me why anybody would want to opt out to go to our schools. I just, as great as they are, I don't know, I realize that we got the best school system anywhere. And why you would want to try something that's not a proven entity is beyond me. But I just want to congratulate everybody in the system and the director for the job everybody's doing. So I'm glad to be part of it.
Any other business? I'll entertain a motion. Ms. Darby?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.